everybody! Hello and welcome to Blood and Popcorn. It's Friday night, and we are here on Blood and Popcorn. Thanks for being here with us. My name is TJ Rotell. I'll be your host this evening. Alongside me, as always, the Demogorgon, Denise Pantoja, and the Odd Movie Master himself, Mr. Glenn Akers. Guys, it's Friday night. We just got done watching one of the craziest horror movies I think I've ever seen. It's Glenn's pick tonight, and it's the 1985 Kung Fu horror comedy, Mr. Vampire. Glenn, tell us about Mr. Vampire.
Please.
Where to begin? I'm sure it's like every other horror movie either of you have ever seen.
I want you to begin with how you found it, and then tell us about the movie.
Okay. How did I find
I
it?
always picture Glenn like Indiana Jones, like finding horror movies in a dark cave somewhere in 1940s Russia. You know, like just like uncovering Mr. Vampire. Is that how you did it, Glenn?
I mean, that is how I find a lot of movies, and I think that's actually how I found this one. It's one of two video rental places that I went.
Are we up? I'm so sorry to interrupt because it hasn't flipped over on my phone, so I'm just wondering.
Oh
We
yeah,
had-
we're very much live.
Okay, great.
Uh, this was in a small area where I grew up in Illinois. There was this one video rental store in a slightly larger town that was curated by this guy who had immaculate taste for weird.
Would you credit him with your taste in horror movies?
Uh, no, I had a taste for horror movies, but like he helped,
No,
like,
taste in, like cultivate.
oh yeah,
Like you liked sushi, but you'd never had like a lobster tempura roll or something like you were
right,
waiting on,
yes,
like
that's a good way. Yeah, definitely. He was always great to talk to, very knowledgeable. Had an insane selection for this tiny little town, it was in, I believe he had like an Asian horror section, which is not common in a lot of video stores.
especially when we were growing
Especially-
up. Oh my god.
No,
Especially in the
No.
Midwest.
yeah, no
Yeah, for
shit.
real. I'll tell you, East Coast didn't have one where I was
No,
at. No.
like I didn't see one again until I went to college, where like it was a large video rental store, and like it was intended to have like large foreign film sections. And even then, like the Asian horror section was like it's 6 movies. Though if it had one, Mr. Vampire was always in it.
And
Yeah,
when you
I
saw it, was the cover box like crazy? Was it just bananas? Like what
Calling to
was
I mean, it was a lot like most Asian horror boxes where you can't really tell what's going on.
yeah, a lot of
Like,
like
there
hard
is-
colors and
Yeah, and like
sharp
sort of
edges.
pictures of the movie that like actually don't happen, and then just I mean, I can't read Mandarin or Cantonese, so symbols I can't read.
Yeah.
The only
Nor
thing
I.
it had a little yellow handwritten sticker on it that said Mr. Vampire, and I was like, that's a weird name.
At this point, you haven't like learned Mandarin or Cantonese.
I
Just
should. I'm it's hard what I've heard from people who've learned it. I wish I did though.
I could barely retain information from minute to minute at this point. Yeah.
Yeah,
I tell
like,
ya. Whoa, look at this mug.
whoa, that's cool.
That is cool.
Oh, I'm jealous. It's very vamp. I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that mug. Quit
But
mugging
yeah.
the camera, D.
What?
Quit mugging to camera. Nailed it.
Yeah, so
Crushing
I
it
found
tonight.
this, and the video store guy Dale was his name. Is his name? It's not a business anymore, unfortunately. I rented it, and he's like, "Be prepared." And I hadn't ever really seen any sort of Asian horror movie at that time, and I definitely didn't know anything about
Really?
Taoism or Buddhism or anything not Christian, basically.
Yeah, it was the Midwest in the
Right.
what late 80s, early 90s.
Or mid 90s. Like,
Mid
I'm
90s.
like
He's younger.
12 or
I
something.
always forget you're that much younger than we are.
Yeah, I
We're
was
like,
born in the late 80s.
You mean than you are, TJ?
yeah. I mean, look at all this gray. It's very fashionable, but you know,
I'm not without gray. Uh,
We all have a little
anyways,
gray, especially after the last year.
it's a touch of gray.
uh,
Grateful Dead song. It's a great song.
but yeah, so this was like I'm pretty sure this was the first Asian horror movie I saw, and it like blew my mind. Even on like a not good VHS copy. And I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. This is nothing like, this isn't like the crazy Italian movies that I loved at the time, like Argento and Bava and all that. And I was like, this is so far removed from anything I've ever seen. I need to see more. And then that's basically where, since then, my lifelong love of like crazy Asian horror movies have come from.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they're great though. Like, it's fantastic to see what other cultures do with horror. How they handle it. Because here in the States, you know, we've got some pretty dark stuff.
Oh yeah.
But this was pretty lighthearted and fun, and I really loved it. I'm so glad we got to watch it, and I'm so glad that like this movie means so much to you, that it was like your first Asian horror flick. I love that.
Oh yeah. I intentionally picked it here because I do want to pick more Asian horror movies, like not all the time, but, and I feel like this is a good stepping stone because it was one of, it wasn't the first, obviously, because it was 85. Of course, they were making movies before then, but like it was, as far as I understand, one of the largest hits that of the genre, and it was definitely the one that started the hopping vampire genre. Even though they had showed up before,
so
but
good.
like
Did not know that existed.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah, like as soon as I found out about this film and watched it, I like started reading up on it as much as I could pre-internet.
Where did you find your information?
I had a book that I still have. It's fucking awesome. It's called Terror on Tape.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember that book.
And then I eventually got, I think is it called the Video Hound's Guide to East Asian
Video
horror
Hounds.
movies?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I still have that too.
Oh, that's a deep cut.
It's like it's bigger than a phone book.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think I want to say I had the paperback.
I did too.
Was it the purple writing or something maybe on that guy? I don't remember if that was the one.
The one I had was orange or red. I can't remember.
What's it called?
The horror. I think it's Horror Hounds or Video Hounds Guide to East Asian horror movies, or East Asian cinema. Actually, it's not just horror movies. And the other one's called Terror on Tape. That one was purple and had like red blood dripping down it.
That's the one that I had.
Yeah. That was like my Bible of like things I needed to find and like couldn't. Yeah, I still have both of those books.
Did you highlight it? Did you go through and like highlight your favorites?
Yeah, I sure did. I mean, I think I put Post-it notes, and it was basically just like I needed a Post-it note every page, basically.
Yeah, there was something always on every page that you want to be like, oh, I gotta find that.
There was one in there that I actually didn't see until 2020. It was like the holy grail of my brother and I to find, and it should have stayed not found. It wasn't good.
What year was that?
Ooh, I think it actually came out. I think it came out in the 90s, but it looks like it was shot in like the early 80s.
Oh,
I think it was called Mind Killer.
Oh, that sounds great.
And it's supposed to be about a brain that pops out of a head and goes around just killing people. And I was like, that sounds fucking amazing.
There was another movie like that called The Brain.
There is that becomes like a giant.
Yeah, like a giant worm thing with a fucking face, but it's just a giant brain. Oh, yes. That movie's great.
That is on my list to watch on this show for sure.
Great.
And then there's another one that was made by the guy who did Basket Case.
Oh, fantastic. Love Basket Case. Love the whole trilogy.
Yeah, no, I do too. Anytime I was in a horror movie or a rental store, I always like try to describe Mind Killer. And they're like, oh, it's this movie, which I think is, what is that one called?
Killer
Brain
Minds.
Damage.
Oh, Brain Damage. Yeah.
And they're like, it's brain damage. Like, it's not brain damage. I've seen brain damage. I love it. It's not that. I finally found it. It was on Amazon. I don't know if it's still there.
Wasn't worth the effort.
No. It sunk below so bad it's good.
That's rough. So bad it's bad.
It was just boring, is honestly what it was.
That's
Anyways,
terrible.
it's not
Thanks
about
for the
Mr.
sub,
Vampire.
Estonian Knight.
Estonian.
Appreciate that, my guy. Oh, gifted it to Floppy. Thanks for gifting a sub.
Oh, nice.
You're the best, guy. Yeah, so here's a young Glenn in his small town movie store, which I also had one. It was on the corner where in the town that I lived, and it's where I got all my posters and like moratorium videos, like shit that had gone off. You can't get it anywhere. Like this dude would like hunt the nation for me and find me like $60 VHS tapes. It was dope, man. Like I spent most of my youth in that store buying horror movies. So I definitely feel the love.
I think Dale has the most amount of money I ever paid for any movie. That record, like he went out of business. Unfortunately, I actually literally cried that day. It was like, oh no, it's over. He was going out of business, and I like wanted to give him all the money I could, which wasn't much at the time. And like the only thing I bought was one of the movies I hadn't seen in his Asian horror movie section. And at the time, it was Tetsuo, the Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
And I handed him fucking $60 for that, which was like $60 I didn't really have.
Yeah.
And wow, did that one really, really blow my mind.
I think I dropped like $180 on the entire Nightmare franchise original cover boxes.
Fair.
Like, dude hunted them down for me and just kept getting them. And every time one would come in, just boom, whatever. What do you want for Christmas, TJ? I want these 20 movies, and I'll go tell him to get them. Then you go pick them up. He'll call you when they're ready. But dude was a ninja, man. He'd find everything and anything. My copy of Society came from him.
Ooh.
Yeah, like a lot of stuff.
I can't even with that one. I can't
Society waits for you.
Shunting's too much for you, D?
I can't wait to do Society on this show. I can't wait. Anyway, so there's a young Glenn. He's gotten this VHS called Mr. Vampire. First impressions, and that's a question for both of you. First impressions on Mr. Vampire?
When I first saw it, like again, like I'm used to Western vampires, cape, big long teeth, usually talk. Sometimes they're sexy, sometimes they're not.
Most often they're sexy.
Right. Sometimes they're not, but usually they are.
Yeah,
and
Robert
I love
Pattinson
those movies.
was gross.
I have actually never seen those movies.
It's Robert Pattinson. He's hideous.
He's a good actor, though.
No, he's beautiful. He's a beautiful man.
Yeah. So I was not expecting this. I also was like, I honestly had no idea what to expect just because the title. Because I was like, is this just like a mistranslation? And apparently it's not. Apparently it like directly translates to Mr. Like rigor mortis, or Mr. like stiff corpse, which makes sense. Anyways, I didn't know that at the time. But yeah, I watched it and I was like, this is not the vampire I know.
No, not even close. Like
no, like they don't really suck blood. What I gathered is like at the time that they like life force is what they get, which is sort of like blood. So kind of. When I first saw it, it was subtitled. It wasn't dubbed, which it translates a little differently than the dub that we watch.
I would bet, yeah,
a little bit.
I would feel that it's a little, even though it's a comedy, is it a little more serious?
No, I think it's actually funnier.
Really?
Like I think there's a lot of like wordplay and like double entendres that like we don't get because we don't know what they're referencing in their culture.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like it's supposed to be like 50-50 comedy horror, and then like overarching kung fu, which is also something
which is
I
a delight.
love because I'd obviously seen kung fu movies before then and loved them, and I was like, oh shit, they're fighting a vampire with their stupid good kung fu. Uh, I
Dude,
was
some of
like,
the
this is
fight scenes in this movie were fantastic.
that's what I love about generally any Hong Kong movies is that like we have fights in American movies and they can be awesome and kick ass, but like even low budget, like this one actually was a fairly decent budget for the time. Uh, but like even low budget Hong Kong movies, like when they get into the ass kicking scenes, like we can't even hold a candle to it.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
even when we bring Jackie Chan here and he fights, it's not anything compared to what he was doing in Hong Kong.
No.
Right.
Uh, Probably because of safety reasons, which we enforced in America more. uh, but
Yeah,
yeah, like it's just
there's some telltale signs in this movie that would indicate that there were some maybe people being a little laxed on the safety protocols.
you mean like
Terrifying.
getting dropped from 2 stories
Yeah, and then
without cutting away to like him
5 minute
falling on
body
a pad?
burn. Oh my god,
Yeah,
awful.
but but yeah, like this, like it basically just threw the door open for me of uh movies that like didn't make sense to me just because I didn't understand the the culture or anything like that. And then like they're just made wildly differently. Like most of the time you don't see horror comedies, and you definitely don't see them. If they're comedies, they aren't comedies. Like this to me is very like Abbott Costello and like Harold Lloyd and why am I blanking? Charlie Chaplin. Like it's very
Yeah.
slapstick.
Yeah, like you're one second away from somebody stepping on a rake, you know, and it
Yeah,
bopping them in the face.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean that's pretty prevalent in most of Hong Kong movies. Like a lot of Jackie Chan's Hong Kong movies were like they would lift scenes from Chaplin and Lloyd.
Really?
Like there's that really I can't remember which. I think it's Harold Lloyd movie where he's standing in a very specific position and like the house falls around him. And like he like stands up and like the window goes over him and he
Yeah.
doesn't
Gotcha.
die like he could have.
That's
Like they did
so
that again.
that's such a crazy stunt.
No shit.
Just stand there and
Like
wait for a building to fall around you.
and you pray that you're like Tex or whatever was doing it in 1930
Yeah,
like
right.
did the math right on that. Yeah, like they did that again. Like Jackie Chan has a lot of stunts that were inspired or did a lot like that. Like this is very slapstick, which isn't for everybody, and I get that. But I love it because it lends itself for like the kung fu fights that even though we're kind of funny, you're just like, oh shit, these guys actually know how to fucking fight. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Understand what they're doing. Yeah.
Dee, what were your first impressions when when the film opened up?
I mean, like Glenn said, it is fascinating to take a look at it from a different perspective. Um, and I was a little lost at first. But you know, Glenn had,
Same.
well, thank goodness we had you though, because then you had like answers to some of those questions.
Yeah, it was like watching with the director's commentary on. It was great.
Yeah,
Get like little fun facts like pop up video.
exactly. But it was so much fun. And even though it was super campy, I was very interested to know where they were going to go with it. And that's because, they didn't really get into the fighting until much later,
No.
um, which was very interesting because that was an amazing part of the movie. But I don't know, it was just a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That's exactly how I felt too. Like it's been a while since I've watched a movie that, I mean, I wasn't. I mean, I was invested. Like I cared about Danny, like when he was changing into a vampire, but more so, I didn't have to like freak out about it. You know, I could just enjoy it and laugh and like
Yeah.
enjoy these like colorful big characters, like watching a play. You know what I mean? Like it was like this like really mystifying experience. where you couldn't look away. Like I bought into all of it immediately. Like I had seen
Yeah.
that breed of vampire before. Like I was aware of
Never
that
seen it.
breed of vampire, with the hopping and all that. So that didn't catch me off guard or anything. So I was able to just sit back and really take it in, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
I
Yeah.
laughed a lot more than I thought I would. It was
Yeah,
it was very I'm sure it was supposed to be scary for the time, but obviously with all the crap we've seen in our lifetimes,
yeah,
that kind of horror, the scare factor doesn't quite live up. But
No.
it was just it was it was I would just so many times I'm just like just like really genuine joy out of watching it.
yeah,
Hmm. I
So
think that's why I liked it the first time as well. I was like, oh, this is like way more not really a horror movie,
mhm.
despite it revolving around vampires and a vengeful ghost.
And having these horror aspects. Oh, that was, and you know what? So I just was looking at that. So it's called. It
the,
is
the
the
ghost or the vampire?
huh?
Sorry, go on.
What'd you say?
I was going to, are the ghost or the vampire?
No, the style of vampire.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like Jiangxi,
Hmm.
and
I
that's the
think.
hopping corpses of Chinese folklore.
Right.
So one of the things I found very, very interesting was you mentioned, Glenn, they have so many ways to combat vampirism.
Hmm.
And I would imagine if this is based on Chinese folklore, that a ton of these practices are actual practices that they have in their religion. I don't
It,
know for sure, but
as far as I know, again, like I am no expert. Uh, from what I've gathered, is that some of it is, and some of it they just made up for this movie,
on the
oh,
which
day,
is
fun.
funny because like this literally spawned almost an industry. Like there's four, I believe, official sequels to this, and then there's like I think at least 60 fake spin-offs, like
wow.
unofficial ones. And a lot of them have the same priest, whatever you want to call him, the holy man, kick-ass dude.
Yeah, battle
You,
priest.
yeah, I mean, he's a Taoist priest, but yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes he even has the same name and is supposed to be the same character. Again, like
Uh,
copyright laws and like rules and things in Hong Kong at this time like weren't really enforced. Uh, so
Subscription.
like there's some where it's like Mr. Vampire 3 or it's like the ultimate vampire, but it has that literal same actor in it,
Oh wow.
playing the same character.
Subscription.
Oh my God.
And they did them up until like
Like Evil Dead 2.
right.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Epic. Thanks for the sub love, bud.
Um oh man. Oh whatever. Oh yeah, they made up some of it. But yes, it is actually supposedly based on their folklore of that. And like I didn't know this until like the second or third time I watched it, but like the reason that they hop is because of rigor mortis. So like they're stiff. That's why they look hop around, because they can't bend their legs and walk really, even though the super vampire kind of does. But the other reason they hop
He
is
spent
because
all that time in the sewer getting rehydrated.
right,
That's why he
yeah,
looked all messy afterwards.
that could be.
Yep, you heard it here first.
Uh, and then the other reason they hop is apparently like at the time this is supposed to take place. Um, uh, if a family member had somebody pass away, they usually wanted to come back and get buried in like their homeland, village, area, whatever, if they weren't there. And if the family was poor and couldn't afford like a carriage, they would have two people bring them back and basically like have, this is kind of gross, but like if that's how you did it, uh, they would tie them like here at your wrists and then tie them at the feet and basically hang them on a bamboo pole, and two people would walk them back to their village. And from a distance, like bamboo is very bouncy and it would look like the actual corpses bouncing, and like that's where they think that the folklore came from.
Hmm.
But like again, like to Westerners, like this doesn't make any sense. Like, why are the vampires any of this? But like it does make a lot of sense of where the folklore comes from their culture and like how they did things, which is really interesting, or I think it is.
It,
Uh,
it super is.
Oh yeah.
I just
and
want to.
like, yeah, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry, you weren't finished.
I think some of the other things that were like accurate, uh, like the way the bad vampire, the super bad vampire, at the end came that way was because he was buried incorrectly and maybe cursed. It depends on which dub or translation you're looking at, by a fortune teller, and that's how he became super evil.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is part of the culture where like if burials are done improperly or if they're facing the wrong way, like that's it's I think it's feng shui that is the driving factor behind it.
Is that where the curse comes from, though? The improper burial?
I think so. I mean, they mentioned that there was a fortune teller.
Yeah, whose land it was, and
Yeah.
I think that's where on the dub I was watching, that's where it seemed to come from, was the fortune teller.
Gotcha.
Right. I think it's kind of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, again,
they do mention the improper burial as well.
Right, and I think that is actually true. Like it's bad luck to have. Again, like I don't know if it's like facing east or west or something like that. Like I think that is actually bad luck, and omens can happen, even still in their religion.
Mm.
Like Christians have other things that we don't have to get into.
There's things. There's lots of things. No, I was going to say, I just want to thank you for bringing such an interesting movie to the show and to our library, because of course, as Americans, we get accused often of thinking the world revolves around us, because many do, and because this is what we know, and we're just sort of surrounded by ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
Europeans and countries in Asia, they they tend to have more around them and get out more, and maybe be more, maybe they're more accepting, not maybe, but they're more accepting than we are of introducing themselves to other cultures. And this is just, it's awesome, it's a delight, and it's really cool to see the differences in our societies and in the
For
religions,
sure.
how you interpret things. So
Well, it
thanks.
just makes you think, like, there's like that movie for Glenn to track down was a pretty tough operation. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it goes to show, like, there's so much content out there in the world
Yeah.
for decades now, decades and decades worth of content that a lot of people, most people, will never get to see. Like,
Mhm.
this movie didn't exist. Like, even for as much horror consumption and knowledge as I've accumulated over the last 32 years of my life, like, uh, I'm not 32, I'm older than that, but that's about how long I've been watching horror movies. Um, I'm not trying to like say, Mom, 29. No, I'm 39 years old. But yeah, like, even with my vast knowledge of horror, I had no idea this movie existed,
Mhm.
and I'm so happy I do now. I can't wait to watch the other ones.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to exclusively do Hong Kong horror movies, but I'm going to pick a few. And like I said, this will be the silliest, least horror tinged that I'll pick. Again, this is just like a stepping stone.
Tetsuo's next.
It is not. We're not going to. I love that movie, but it's only
Tetsuo.
so that's intense. That holy shit, that movie blew my mind. I recommend it to watch anybody who can get their hands on it, though. I guess you
Buy
can.
buy physical media whenever you can.
That's
Yep.
true. Have you seen TJ? Have you seen it? It's
Which one?
black and white in like 60 minutes.
Tetsuo.
Tetsuo, the Iron Man.
I think I did years ago. I haven't seen it recently. Like, I couldn't talk about it.
it's if anybody who's watching who's seen Eraserhead, it's like I think it's the 90s, like 90s Japanese punk version of Eraserhead. It's bonkers.
Hmm.
Basically, a dude gets a piece of metal injected into himself and it infects him and he becomes like this weird, like morphed, half human, half like metal garbage monster. It's crazy. Like it makes this look like a kids movie, which I think actually this was supposed to be semi a family comedy horror movie.
Yeah, it's got that vibe to it for sure. Like it definitely has that vibe.
Yeah.
In another universe, Disney put this out.
Right.
This was a 1 hour special on the wonderful world, magical world of Disney or whatever that show was.
Yeah. I don't know what I was gonna say. Was there a question that I didn't answer? I feel like.
No, I think you got it all in there. I think we can just talk about it now. But yeah, I mean, like the martial arts in this was great. Like the fight choreography was really excellent. And surprising
That
too. Like I was expecting something, but I wasn't expecting the level of quality we got. Like that was quite good.
that's that's what I really love about most Hong Kong movies uh, of this era, basically from late '60s until the 2000s. Like even if it's just a normal straight drama, there's usually some sort of like, oh, we're just gonna have an amazing kung fu scene right here. Uh, uh, Almost all the horror movies are that way. Uh, that makes sense for this one, and not to go too deep into the history. So, like, I think it was 1980. Yeah, Sammo Hung, who went to the same opera school, I guess, is what it was called, a Peking opera school, as Jackie Chan and Yuen Bao. They were like they called themselves the Three Brothers or something like that. Everybody knows who Jackie Chan is, or if you don't, figure it
Come
out.
on now.
So like Sammo Hung was basically he was the he was the fat friend, and like that's how they always referred to him, but like amazingly athletic. And then in the '80s, he started to become more director than he did star. And in 1980, he made a movie called, depending on which version you're watching, uh, Spooky Encounters or Encounters of the Spooky Kind. Again, weird English translations.
Gotta love it.
And it's also a horror comedy. It has a little more horror elements, but I picked this one because this one was the one that like really became like a giant hit, like not just in Hong Kong, but in the UK and a lot of Europe.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely the breakthrough of this genre.
Yeah, yeah. Like in theory, it probably should have been Spooky Encounters, because it is more horror esque. But there's definitely more. I mean, there's definitely comedy in it as well.
Mhm.
But anyways, Sammo produced this movie, uh, and I believe it was his director of photography on Spooky Encounters that directed this one. But anyways, like became a giant hit in Hong Kong. I think on its second release though, and then became like a out of nowhere hit in the UK and subsequently Europe, which is why like they made a ton of these movies afterwards.
If it ain't broke,
Yeah, but that's probably the reason it has some amazing kung fu is because Sammo is a very skilled uh, martial artist, as is I believe the director and obviously your actors here, uh, like almost all of them.
yeah.
I think even Tina, or I don't remember her real name, and I
Moon?
don't want to give disservice to anybody because I can't pronounce anything correctly.
Moon?
Oh yeah, I believe she's actually pretty proficient with it as well. Uh,
That's
but
so
yeah,
cool. That's like the
yeah.
one thing I wish I'd like stuck with, but I was like young and like tired a lot.
TJ, it's never too late. I'm gonna.
True. But I mean, to be fair, like these guys, like went to like basically boot camp for years
Oh
to
yeah.
Yeah.
like I don't think the school they went to was awesome to be at. Like I think it was pretty very strict.
Hardcore.
Yeah,
A lot of rapping of the knuckles.
probably. Uh I mean, I'm sure it wasn't like Kill Bill where you like punched your knuckles bloody or I don't know.
I don't know.
Uh
I don't know.
but
The
it's
movie
also
version
why
of it is.
it's also why they fight pretty fluidly. Like it's not it's because a lot of them went to what they called, I believe, called the Peking Opera School or something like it, where it was a lot of like tumbling, kind of Cirque du Soleil kind of things, but like that does translate into like fluid fighting.
So they did not learn opera. Is that what you're telling
Correct.
me? Correct, maybe.
I think it's not opera as we think of it. I think it was more like stage plays of like really old stories,
Mm.
but I'm not exactly sure.
Makes sense.
But definitely Samo, Jackie, and uh, Yoan Bao definitely went together and were like three best friends. And like even apparently when they were there, like people were like, these guys are going to be the biggest stars ever,
Pay
and they
close
were right.
attention. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so
uh,
cool.
for sure.
So what's
Uh, the oh the sorry the
no,
this was such a big hit that the only movie in Hong Kong that was bigger than it was that year was a Jackie Chan movie. It was Police Story, which is amazing.
Oh
Also,
yeah.
find that movie. Holy shit, Jackie Chan's insane, and almost died on that movie for real.
is this the
Because
story
he's
you were telling us about recently?
where he like almost electrocuted himself. Yeah, that one, and hung off a bus that was moving. Yeah,
Fucking Jackie
it's
Chan,
crazy.
man.
It's a good action movie. Like watch that and then watch any American Jackie Chan movie. Like, oh, we didn't use any of his skills when he came here.
He's like, no, I can do it. They're like, no.
Nope.
Yeah. Give me the basics, Jack.
You're right.
All right, here we go. One backflip. Woo, and
Right.
America went, whoa! Because you know who wasn't doing backflips was like Mel Gibson.
Steven Seagal.
Yeah, like Steven Seagal. Like, you know, none of our action guys were doing
No.
running up a wall and doing a backflip off of it. Like none of our guys were
No.
doing that. It's like where
And that
that's
happens
like
casually in this.
yeah, well, and casual, yeah, and it's a thing that like a lot of people can do. Like I can't do it, I'll die, but like a lot of people can do it. And it's like, but you know, back then that they were like, that's good enough. Like, why do you need to be on this moving bus? Everyone's
Right.
going to be just as impressed with the backflip thing. And they were like, all right, I guess.
Right.
Meet Chris Tucker.
Right.
He's going to talk a lot in this movie, a lot. But I love those movies. I just
He
watched
might
it the other
lose
day.
you. He loses some of us sometimes too.
Just roll with it, Jack. Keep doing backflips. They're gonna love you. Yeah. So like we said, the fighting was really good. The effects were a little, you know, silly.
No, they're not. Yeah.
But one of the things I loved, really loved about it was the all like the mysticism. Like I love that style of like monster where like humans aren't just like weak or we got to get our guns or stakes. Like I love that masters they're practitioners. They're of the mystical arts. Like they know spells and they know how to combat the undead with the use of magic, which I think is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
You know,
That's honestly why I like this genre so much.
yeah. Like I
Because they'll
love
be
like
like
the
in dire
like
straits, and he's
the
just
whole
like
like
coin sword,
and then bite your fingers, and then bam, you're zapping vampires in the head and like putting them to
right?
sleep. Like boom, boom, like take that, you know. And yeah, it's just a really fun time.
Yeah. Did we go over the actual premise of the movie yet? Like
I don't think
plot?
we did.
I don't think we did either.
Glenn, what's the plot?
Uh,
Do your best.
so I didn't. I'm sure I'm still gonna get it wrong. Like I didn't really understand what the fuck was going on until like the third time I watched this. Uh, so it's basically there's your very proficient, powerful, whatever Taoist priest, uh, unibrow guy.
Yeah, he's great. Great age up job on that guy.
That's actually some of the better you'll see. Uh, he and his apprentice, who like clearly is pretty good at that, and then usually in these movies there's another like bumbling assistant, which there's clearly in this. They are your like go-to for Western audiences, like your priest. You go to him for anything religious, whether it be to bless your house or I don't know how marriages work, but like that. I also don't know how that works here.
Yeah, in any country, Glenn doesn't
Right.
know how marriages work.
I don't. Some sort of contract.
And then a bunch of pain.
Right.
I'm not married. I can't speak to it.
Single people.
Anyways, so like they run your whatever you want to call it, your priest
Spiritual.
shop, yeah, your spiritualism, whatever.
They're both your
It starts out with them. They're
Taos
in their.
Bodega.
It's a spiritual bodega.
Ooh, I like that.
Spiritual Bodega. That's a great name.
That is. That'd be a good band name.
We're Spiritual Bodega. Thank you, Cleveland. Good night.
Wait, what? Yeah. So basically, this starts out with them in their. I guess its closest thing would be like a morgue.
Mm-hmm.
Or
hold on, time out real quick. Can we go back to the Spiritual Bodega thing?
Yes.
I think that band, their first album that they release is there. So the band name is Spiritual Bodega, right? The first album is also titled Spiritual Bodega, and the first hit is also titled Spiritual Bodega. In my head, that's how that band rises to fame. They're one hit band, but it's the album and the song are both the name of the band. Please continue.
That makes sense. I mean, I think you just wrote like half an episode of regular show right there. Which I love. I love regular show.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, so like they're in the morgue or funeral home, whatever its closest thing is to Westerners know. And another Taoist priest shows up to take away a group of other dead people
Gaggle of dead.
Right. Who?
What are they called, do you think? A horde? A murder?
I don't know. A murder.
Gaggle?
A
Gaggle
rustle?
for the non-threatening ones.
clump.
Murder
I don't
for the threatening ones.
I don't. A herd. He comes to get them, and this is basically at the beginning where you know this isn't going to be a normal American movie. He takes them away by like basically ringing a bell, and they follow it like they're kind of like their dogs, and they hop away. Now, as far as I understand it, if they lost their yellow slip of paper that's written in probably chicken blood,
Is it like a prayer?
yeah,
But it's
like a
also
prayer
like a
sheet.
spell.
Yeah,
Prayer
it's
spell?
it's somewhere between a spell and a prayer.
Yeah, it's like magic. It's where magic and religion meet.
Oh, can that be their second single? Somewhere between a spell and a prayer?
That's good.
We're halfway there.
It's clearly their ballad, because they are definitely a hair metal band.
Spiritual Bodega. Good night.
Yeah,
They have
they're
to be
definitely
British, too.
English.
Now they're English.
Yeah, with one Australian for some reason.
Yeah.
He plays the bongos.
That never get used. It's weird.
Right, in one
Insert.
song. It's in the ballad that he
He's in the
plays it
band, though. He's in the band.
Yeah, he's the front. He stands in the front,
Yeah.
like the singer. Or he does both. He's the bongo slash singer.
In my head, it's Zach De La Roca, just so everybody knows. If you're playing along,
Sure.
Zach De La Roca is the image of the singer of the band Soul Bodega or Spirit Bodega.
So
Wait, what?
they are
Spiritual
not
Bodega.
hair metal. Got it.
I mean, hey,
I
like
thought they were, but
De La
TJ
Roca was
has a
pretty
different
heavy.
version.
I mean, yeah,
He had a lot of hair, you know.
he did, but he didn't
Just
sound like
saying.
the damn Yankees.
No,
Uh,
if you did,
My goddamn Yankees.
so
Yeah.
good.
you're welcome for that deep cut. I can't even tell you what their song was.
So, Mr. Vampire.
Oh yeah. Anyways, and I like barely got past the 2-minute mark in my description.
Somewhere between a spell and a prayer.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, this herd of corpses gets taken away. Normally. Anyways, somebody shows up. A rich like millionaire shows up with his young daughter, not young, but like younger daughter,
Mhm.
like most daughters are. And he wants the priest to come look at his father's burial because he believes there's something wrong with it. We'll go with that.
Boy, was he right.
Yeah, and the priest shows up and is like, "Oh yeah, you buried him wrong. You fucked up." And because of this, and a curse from a fortune teller or some other
Who scammed
evil
him, a
magical
scam artist.
entity, had cursed the burial site and therefore had actually turned the millionaire's dad into basically a super vampire, which, like we've talked about earlier, he's a hopping vampire, but he's like super OP. Like he can push down doors even though he can't bend his arms, and he can hop onto roofs maybe. You don't really see how he gets up there. Anyways, so there's a super vampire basically wandering around this village.
Mm-hmm. Bad news.
And he, unlike normal vampires, isn't really after blood. He's actually more after life force. And this explains why they don't breathe in front of him. So the way a vampire can detect you, or super vampire, or whatever, is they can either see you, which not all of them can see, depending on how super they are. But they can sense breath, which I believe is actually a religious thing, that like breath is like your life essence. So that's like when you hold your breath, they can't see you, detect you. Anyways, so basically there's a super vampire wandering around, and that's not a good thing, obviously. They as in the idiot, the apprentice, and the priest have an encounter with it. The idiot gets infected, but doesn't become a vampire quickly. And then the apprentice comes along and finds a seductress ghost.
Just happens upon her.
I mean, he doesn't have it upon her. He has an encounter with her in the same cursed burial place.
Well, it happens upon her at the burial site.
Oh yeah. She speaks to him from the grave, which should have been like clue one to not like talk to her. But he did.
And more than that.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, right. So she basically enchants our young apprentice. And then there's like the end where they have to fight a semi-infected idiot of theirs, an enchanting ghost, and a super vampire.
I feel like they're both semi-idiots, to be honest.
True.
A lot of tomfoolery.
And they also have to deal with like a wildly dumb, very corrupt cop.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
who also really wants to get with Tina in like not a good way.
Yeah, he's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Tracks.
But that's a very loose synopsis of what happens.
10-minute introduction to the movie.
Yeah.
But that's only because we got sidetracked by Spiritual Bodega.
Yeah.
Right. And their song and their ballad.
Like you do.
Spiritual Bodega.
We're gonna have to sidebar with this whole
Yeah.
Yeah.
direction
Tune in
thing.
next week when we
Already.
release a new album from our
When we
three-man
break
band.
up before we release our first album.
Yeah.
Right.
Due to creative differences.
Yeah.
Creative differences.
TJ really wanted it to be a jam band, and Glenn and Denise wanted it to be hair metal. TJ's off doing his own thing now. It's called TJ Bodega. TJ Bodega.
It's called Spirit Bodega.
Yeah, Soul Bodega, because I was the soul of the band all along.
Ooh.
That's right.
Ouch.
All right, so back to Mr. Vampire.
So I have a question for you two. When I told you what we were going to watch, and I was pretty sure you hadn't heard or seen anything of this movie, what did you think we were going to watch when I told you its title?
For me, it was Weekend at Bernie's with vampires.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like it was like that kind of movie. Like it would be like a vampire in a white suit with a pink shirt with the sleeves rolled up. You need like a pink t-shirt, like with like small sunglasses on, and he's like dead and like shambling around 80s Hong Kong. You know?
I mean, that's not tonally far off. I mean, they're both comedies is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I immediately thought it would be a comedy. Yeah.
I had no idea, truly. And
Same.
You said it was going to be weird, and I was like, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Oh,
you've never steered us wrong, Glenn. We've never had a movie that I can recall that we were like, man, fuck Glenn for showing us that movie.
Yeah. I mean, there's some that I won't because I didn't like what I watched. The other thing I really like about this is that it barely dips your toe into like Hong Kong horror movies are really good at like taking left turns out of fucking nowhere. Like i.e. what the ghost does.
Yeah.
When they fight her.
Yeah.
It was so good. Like that was probably my favorite part of the whole movie.
100%.
Mine too.
Yeah.
That's like just a taste of what can happen in Hong Kong horror movies. Is like you'll be like, oh yeah, this is a vampire movie, and then you're just like, what?
What a delightful fight.
Yeah.
Coin sword was dope.
Coin sword is dope. Yeah. I want a coin sword.
It was very video game like, you know.
It is. I mean, this isn't technically pretty video games, but like this is I would bet there are video games that have taken something from this.
I mean, it's a little Legend of Zelda-ish.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
But we'll see.
Well, you answered my next question. What was your favorite part?
Yeah, it was.
We all agree.
I was going to ask that too. Yes, we all agree.
It's the ghost fight. Yeah. I mean, I also love the end fight because it lasts quite a while and like again, very proficient. And they lit a fucking stunt guy on fire for a long time with a lot of fire.
Like
that body burn was crazy. Crazy.
It was. And they did that for real. I watched the special features and read some stuff about it. Like that was a guy that they sort of put protective gear on. And then like
a bunch of tinfoil.
Like it apparently that wasn't like some sort of like movie magic fuel. Like that was kerosene. They threw kerosene on him. And then they shot it in slow motion, so it looked like it took longer, but like he was on fire for like a minute at least.
That's wild, man. That's a long burn. Well, especially too, like you see burns in like Friday the 13th, and it's like his back or it's his upper torso or something. It's something where you could pad. This was a full 360 burn, head to toe, full coverage all over his body. I'd never seen anything like that. Not with a real human.
No. And they didn't, I mean, again, it was in slow-mo and fairly slow-mo, but like they didn't cut away.
No.
Like he was already on fire. Like he already had like what I would have called like a Hollywood burn going. And then they threw fucking kerosene on him. And like you said, it was like front to back, head to toe, like whole body.
Yep.
Yeah, like his shoes ran around after that.
Yeah. Crazy.
What a legend. What a fucking G.
Yeah.
Good for you, stunt person. Good for you. So you say, Glenn, there's more of these. There's several.
There is.
Several. Is that common practice with this genre?
Yeah.
From this region, you get like a movie. Really, I mean, I guess that happens here too. But like, I feel like it runs its course.
How many
overseas.
Fast and Furious do we have?
In 9 or 10 or something like that. I think I don't remember.
You're right.
I've lost count. They're going to space. They went to space, or they're going to space. I don't know.
What? Okay.
They're gonna fight Jason next time.
Yeah, I think it's Vin Diesel versus Jason. He's like, I understand about family.
That movie'd be over so fast.
Ooh, yeah. And then Jason Voorhees picks up his mom's severed head, and he's like, he doesn't say anything because he doesn't speak, but he's like,
yeah. But we get it in the subtitles.
It's the first thing he says, and he just says, "My family now."
Yeah.
And, like walks off with her head.
Yeah, and he retires Vin Diesel, and then Jason becomes the new leader of the Fast family.
But they're in space, so Vin Diesel from Pitch Black shows up.
Yeah, as Vin Diesel's twin brother.
And is like, I'm in a better movie here.
Dom Toretto's twin brother, Riddick. Oh my God, we have fun. We're having fun.
Listen, we're just a creative wellspring here. We're giving Hollywood ideas, and they don't even know it.
They don't even know
and
it.
3 different studios are like, fuck, no, that won't ever happen. These are all our properties.
Yeah, we'll never. It took 20 years to get Jason versus Freddy off the ground. We're certainly not going to get the Dom Toretto,
that take so damn long?
Riddick and Jason triple threat match going.
I like that idea. Anyway.
Speaking of, where the hell is the 3-sided fight? Those two and Pinhead. By the way, Pinhead wins. I'm sorry.
Just so many chains everywhere.
It's Pinhead's group, but so many chains.
Does Pinhead get to bring the Cenobites with him, or is he defending him on his own?
I mean, if Freddy gets to like bring in dream bullshit, then of course he gets Cenobites, all of them. I'm only going off 1 and 2.
I think that's fair. He's not going to get the DJ, the disc jockey one from 3.
I don't remember.
He's not going to get the guy that shoots CDs out of his chest.
Does that happen?
Oh yeah.
I don't remember.
I can't wait till we get into the Hellraiser franchise. That's going to be fun.
Anyway, sidetrack.
So go ahead, Glenn.
I was gonna say, was there any part? This time didn't do it to me. Was there any part that was mildly creepy or unnerving to either of you?
Yes. The woods with the with the cart in the weird painted face.
Yeah.
Doll ghosts.
When the enchanting ghost shows up.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That was probably the only time. It's the song.
Weird.
And it's like the smiley faces like bouncing in slow-mo. Like that really, I was like, ugh, that's gonna.
Again, like,
ugh.
Weird left turn.
And why?
In a movie about hopping vampires.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, listen, everybody, we got a 60-page script. We need at least another 25 pages to make this thing a feature.
I got it.
And then we'll add an extra fight scene. So what's everybody got? I don't know, man. What about a sex ghost? Yeah, sex ghost. That'll work. That'll fill it up.
That's what's funny about this is like a lot of the actual sequels and not real sequels like stuck to this. Like these weird, not really true, but like arbitrary rules that this movie set up that nobody thought was really going to be what it was, like be as popular as it was. So like I don't know exactly which rituals aren't really a thing, like maybe the sticky rice isn't a thing, or maybe it is. But like everything they made up, like it's in all of them, even unofficial ones. You're just like, oh, okay, it's sticky rice.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
was anyone here, Glenn, in this cast that you know of Like, did they go on to greater things? Were they like in any other big franchises?
I mean, your priest went on to basically play the same character until he passed away way too early. I think he passed away like in his 50s, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah,
But like he basically had a career after this that was just like he played this or something very similar. Um, I don't think so. If we would have seen spooky encounters, like Samo is in it, and he
yeah,
went on to be uh, pretty popular, and I think Ian Bow's in that as well. I could be wrong. Who also went on, but I don't think there was anybody. Yeah,
that really broke out.
Mhm.
Word.
yeah.
Well, Glenn, do you have any final thoughts on it? I think maybe we'll start wrapping things up here. Um, what are your any final thoughts? Does anyone have any final thoughts on Mr. Vampire?
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I would agree. Highly recommend it. If you could find it, Estonian Knight said he had to dig pretty deep but got it. Yeah,
Yeah,
like it's just one of those movies that it's full of it's full of a lot of color and story and lore. And if you're, especially if you're like a D&D player, like this kind of stuff will resonate because we're used to just accepting lore bombs as
mm,
as truth. So it's like, oh yeah, all the vampires hop and have big blue fingernails. You're like, yep, 100% they do, and I'm here for it. So yeah, go check this out. D.
definitely.
Speaking of, and I know you do this a lot, TJ, opening yourself up to so many different types of movies and different cultures and whatnot is also very helpful in informing different types of characters. If you play
Mm.
D&D, if you play RPGs, um, TJ, I know you're always taking really great inspiration from, you know, the world around you and things that you like in movies and television and stuff like that. But like, what a really cool um, character to, or a bunch group of characters to inform the creative choices that you can make in those games.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, you've
sure.
got you've got all kinds of fun flavor there. You can even play Mr. Vampire if you want and go Dampier and Undead Warlock combination. You know?
As TJ pulls out names and stuff like that, he's like, already,
Yeah, you're
already know
gonna
the whole
yeah,
thing.
you're gonna monk and then go monk and then Undead Warlock and make him a Dampier. I'm just saying. I might have one of those. I might have one of those. Anyway, Glenn, thank you so much for sharing this movie with us. You never disappoint. Guys, so this is the third movie. We've finally made our way back around after Summer of the Living Dead. And we get to pick our group pick. This is our
Oh,
group pick this time. So
Um,
I don't think we're going to have it right now, but be sure to check the Discord and check socials. We'll be announcing that sometime in the next couple of days. So you can find it and watch it and chat along with us here on Blood and Popcorn. Um, yeah, Denise, where can folks find you on the internet?
you can find me at Denise Pantoja. I am on Twitch, currently on hiatus. I am on Twitter and Instagram at Denise Pantoja, and then you can find me on TikTok at the Demogorgon.
Excellent. Glenn, where can folks find you?
uh, Instagram at Odd Movie Master, and Twitter as well. I don't do that as often, and on Instagram I can post videos
Yeah, your
easier.
Instagram is a lot of fun watching all the ingest stuff. I love that stuff. Ingesting today,
Mhm.
or ingesting
Yeah,
now. I love that. I think that's great.
basically my Instagram is like, what weird shit am I watching now? And I try to pick clips that I think are the best
Mm.
until somebody tells me not to.
uh,
Yeah, I try to post a couple of times a week on there. You can scroll through and find some weird shit.
and find all the things. And speaking of finding, you can find me at TJ Rotell wherever popular internets are sold. Gang, another Blood and Popcorn in the books. You know, it's been a while. We've been on hiatus, so thank you to the 29ers out there for sticking around. We're glad to be back, and we'll be back Monday night with more bonus round. I'll probably be sticking with State of Decay because that was really fun, State of Decay 2. And then Wednesday night, once again, Dead by Tea Light. I'll be playing Killer this time around, and you know I'm bringing my Freddy game, and I'll probably try out Pinhead too, just because they're new.
Oh, they have Pinhead now?
Yeah, Pinhead and Chatterbox, or the Chatter, or whatever it is. And then, of course, you're watching Blood and Popcorn Friday night, 10 p.m. Gang, we did it. We made it. We survived another Friday night. Yeah, who wants to, does somebody want to, since we're all picking the next one, does someone want to do the farewell? Do you want to do it, Dee? Do you want to do the farewell?
Me? I feel like I've done so many.
Well, you know what? This was Glenn's pick. I keep forgetting.
Glenn.
I keep forgetting that that's the plan. That whoever picks the movie has to do the farewell. So, Glenn, see, it's been a long time. Glenn,
Ooh,
give us your best
Parting thoughts.
your best exit, your best outro, whatever you want to call it. Best you can do.
fuck.
That's it, everybody. Fuck it is. Good night.
You're right. Thanks for hopping in, and avoid the kerosene when you can.
That's right.
Hopping. Vampires. I get it. It's good.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's good. All right, everybody.
Until next time.
Till next time. Be good, and we'll see you then.